Hello there everyone. For this video I'm going to provide a couple examples of how to geocode data, primarily using Google Sheets. I am going to show you the option if you're interested in to use the US Census Geocoder. I'll get into some of the issues and limitations I've found and experiences when trying to use that. With it, I've already pulled up the US Census, kind of the description of their public geocoder, what geocoding is. In short, if you have address level information and you want to actually link it to an address street with the coordinates, be it lat long, or if you want to get in projected data, we can discuss that in another video, but it's actually matching your data to addresses from the census itself. This gives you quite a few different options of how they're doing it. I'll provide this and it gives you the steps to create a CSV file or different file types that you can use then to use their public geocoder to get results. So I'll link to this in the YouTube video for those who are interested. With that, there's a couple different options, like I said, in Google Sheets that have made life easier when it comes to this process. And I say that one continues to update, and the first one I'll kind of discuss, and the three tabs next to it all fall in line. It's called the Geocoding by SmartMonkey. Pretty handy. A Google Sheets add-on. I've already had it added on for Google Sheets, but it's a pretty quick and easy way, as it says here, to turn street names into GPS coordinates. It does just that. It's a nice plugin to Google, the API, and it's pulling that for you. Has map integration, so it's pretty cool with that when you can do it within Google Sheets because it's all there for you. With that, it is nice, handy, and I'm going to go through one of their older ones. And I originally found this through the hands-on data visualization book. They used to have an older one that had both the Census and Google Geocoders integrated into an extension for Google Sheets. Now it looks like it's primarily just the Google Sheets with the Google Geocoder. The Census one gives an error each time. When I double check to see how they discuss it in here, it no longer has that part to it, so I'm assuming they just took that out and link now to the US Census for that. But I'll make a link available to this hands-on data visualization book, so it is pretty handy. If you are part of any of my other folders that I have for kind of open source materials, this is there. It has a plethora of good information on visualizing data, especially spatial data itself. So with that, it even gives you information on if you want to bulk geocode data within the US Census subfield or the platform there. It's different, and that's where I say take some time. I'll show you some of my prior experiences with it, primarily when it was part of the Google Sheets extension, some of the issues I had, but some of the perks it has too is it can add in the census tract ID, block group ID for you, so you can grab some of that without having to merge it into other softwares like a GIS type program. The other one that I found to be super helpful is just called Awesome Table. Same as the other one that I just mentioned with the SmartMonkey. This one has the ability to geocode data for you and visualize it for it. So both of these are add-ons within Google Sheets. They pull up when you click on Manage Add-ons, and you have the option to use them. With that, I'll get into each one of those and kind of show you how you can use them. The data that I'm going to be using today as an example, it comes from the American Terrorism Study here at UA, part of the Terrorism Research Center. This is part of a larger project we have with the National Institute of Justice, and this one has incident level information, and we're trying to get as close to an address as we can. I took some of the information out just to trim it down, but you can see here kind of a year stamp, a date, the category, and some other information that could be helpful for further analysis once we have it spatially referenced. And I can even go across here and you can see that it does have a lat and long, but it has different levels of addresses. So some we have complete addresses, some we just have a city. That's important to note here because that's going to make a difference when it comes to geocoding the data and when we're verifying it for further analysis. But it gives us an address field that we can at least pull from, and say we didn't have the lat and long, we can use the other information such as the city, state, zip, and when they have the specific address, we can get into that. I'm going to pull, copy, and paste from this field into the Google Sheets just to show you and display where this information is coming from. I thought I'd give you kind of a sneak peek behind because it's on my other screen, so I'm not going to click back and forth. I'm just going to do a copy and paste, and I'm going to be using this address field here. So I'm going to move this back over, and we're back into Google. All right. So we have the first tab up here. It's kind of the first one that got me started with Google Sheets and geocoding. I've had students use this in the past, some on their honors thesis in general, projects, everything with it. When you just take a first look at it, you put in a location and it's going to spit back then the lat long, the address that was found, the quality, and the source. So I'm just going to delete this one and show you how the original geocoder, you can see up here that I had this extension already in my Google Sheets based on me using this in the past. So I'm just going to copy over some of the address information from the Terrorism Data set. So I'm going to copy and now paste these over here. And you can see there's different level of addresses, but they all have complete at least city, state in the United States. That's going to help in this case. The cool part is you can just highlight. I'm just highlighting the fields itself, not including the location, lat long, found, quality, and source. Go to Geocoder. This is a key part that allows only 1,000 per day. That's important to know. Even within the SmartMonkey one, it's 1,000 per day. If you need to do large batch geocoding, that's where the census can be handy, but you get different results from the geocoding options. So if I hit geocoding, it's running the script, and you can see now it's going to bring back your lat long and what it's matching to. So this allows you to do a spot check, and the cool part is within the Google Sheets, it will tell you here they're all geocoded, none failed. But say that it's a partial match. You have the option here that it's going to say match, partial match, or fail. The partial match gives you a quick diagnostic of, is there something wrong with the address? I need to double check. You can even see here that some of these are a bit different, so that's where it's so important to go through and clean your data and understand how it's matching. For those who are familiar with other GIS platforms, address matching geocoding can be a lengthy process. Keep in mind, you're not bypassing that by just doing a batch here. You still need to go through and be comfortable with your data and understand how it's being geocoded and if there's any mistakes with it. So with that, that's just one of the options. You can see up here I used to have the options for the US Census, and why I like that, and I have the next tab open for it, it would give you a geo ID and the tract and kind of the source for it. So it was really cool. This is just other information for a data set that I had for Minneapolis. Use this to construct a neighborhood crime measure when we're looking at recidivism, specifically in Minneapolis. You can see here that there's quite a few addresses that just don't match out of the gate. Keep in mind, that's not all of them. We do have a pretty good match rate as we continue to go down, but the issue is you don't know what's not matching. For me, I was never familiar. I haven't been to Minneapolis, so I'm not as familiar with it, so it creates some issues if you don't know the data and the data sets in general. Here, not surprisingly, intersections typically create issues within any geocoder. Nowadays, and this data is from, you can see here, 08. Nowadays, you typically get more specific addresses, and you can see down here, once specific addresses pick up, it does much better than the intersections. But the cool part is, it does give you your geo IDs that you can at least aggregate then crime counts up to a neighborhood without actually having to map the data. You don't have to use an aggregate or another GIS type program to do that. This was a nice way to do it if you did not have a great GIS background in general. Like I said, this one no longer works properly, so if I clear these out, if I hit delete there and I just highlight these, similar to like what we did with the Google one, and I tried to use that same option here, it's the US Geocoder, it's going to come back. And keep in mind, it's going to ask you to run in the background. I'm okay with it. My Google account, I'm okay with it. It's going to give you a warning. I'm okay with it. Obviously, this is your choice and prerogative. And I'm going to hit allow. So it typically runs the scripts. This one actually worked for me. In the past, it did not actually run for me. And I say the past, it was in a couple days ago. It kept getting a 0 kicked back at me. So I just lucked out, I guess, with this one. But keep that in mind that this option might not be here for you. With it, we'll get to the census part. We'll kind of go through that one. But before that, let's get into some of our add-ons. So we have these two add-ons. This one that you see in front of you is the one for the SmartMonkey table or the SmartMonkey feature for geocoding. If you pay attention to their book or PDF available online, these are the example ones it has. Again, I'm going to copy over some from the Terrorism Data set. I'm going to go down, click another batch of addresses just below the ones I just chose. I'm going to copy, and I'm going to paste these just right below. Give it a second. And then I'm just going to highlight the same cells, and I'm going to go to Add-ons. And here you can see that I have two add-ons already. There's two different types. I want to use the SmartMonkey one right now. And I'm just going to hit Geocoding Details. So that one pulled up another chart for me, skipped over mine. So let me try that again. Oops, add on. Oops, there we go, geocode. Let's give this a second to work. And now you can see, similar to before, it's pulling the coordinates for us, the latitude and longitude. Here it's just in one column, so you would have to separate that out. Not a huge deal, pretty straightforward to do. And it gives you the address that it did find, so pretty handy there. And the cool part, since you're in Google Sheets, you can obviously just map the data too, which is always a cool part in my mind. The ability just to go forward and simply map data visually is always cool. Given you're geocoding it, you can see it in front of you. You can do that within this one, but I'm going to use the Awesome Table one just to show you how it's done in there. They also have an Excel add-on as well if that interests you. But for that, let me just open a new sheet. Alright, let me put it at the end here. I guess I could have just done that. But I'm just going to copy the address column that I have for the terrorism data. Keep in mind, some of them were blank or not full addresses, so we're going to get an array of responses. But I want to do a bit of a longer data set so you can see how well it does. So I copied that, paste it here. Well, it said I had an issue copying it. There we go. Now we have our addresses. And again, I'm just going to highlight the data we have here. Oops, went a little too far down. There we go. Go to my add-ons, and now we have Awesome Table, and I want to start geocoding. So I go ahead and click that, and you can see over here it pops up a nice panel on the side, and it's asking you what column it wants you to geocode. Here I have address at the top, so I'm good to go with that. It gives you the options. If your address is a split between multiple columns, then you can identify which ones you need to use. But it is a pretty cool way and quick way to get Latin law and then create a custom map. So once you have that up, hit geocode. You can see here at the top, it automatically is just going to go down, pull each one. I'm going to hit pause here on the video, just let it go all the way down, and then I'll come back. Alright, in reality, that probably took 4 to 5 minutes to do the 296. It did create a status bar here that kind of gave you a running update to see how many were being geocoded and where the progress was. The good and bad of this one, it gives you the Latin long but does not provide the address match. But you can see where we didn't have a full address, it does skip over. But we have Latin long for a majority of these. And why I say the cool part of this one and why I like it, even though the other one is straightforward too, because you're already in Google, it's pretty easy to use my maps and map features. I can just click Create Map, and it's all automatically in the background going to run this for us and pull it into a map for us based on the data. And with this, I don't want to customize anything. I'm just going to go ahead and hit Open Map. And of course, login. Give them all my access to all my information. Yeah. And then of course my phone buzzes about access to it, but now you can see, so these are domestic terrorism incidents post 9/11 through about 2020, 2019. I can't remember the cutoff for this exact data set. At quick glance, I'm seeing 2017 is probably, there's one 2019, 2018. So a couple of the more recent years, but it was primarily post 9/11. But you can see, and these are incident locations itself. And these are also cases where there's an FBI case number attached to it. So it's domestic terrorism under the view of more of an FBI definition of such than anything else. There's always differences in what classifies as terrorism. Not going to get into that discussion there. But these are cases of the FBI that went after terrorism charges. So with that, we can zoom in, and we can see different areas. Obviously, remember that some are address specific, while others are kind of city centers, that kind of thing within it. But you get a good understanding of where some of these incidents are occurring. New York's not surprisingly a hotspot for targets. When I say hotspot, more so just the quantity of in a smaller area. And you can see some in here as we zoom in. Pretty handy, pretty cool when you're just getting used to geocoding data. The big part is wanting to visualize it. So this provides a quick how-to, get lat long, and then actually map it within it. The cool part is if you wanted to create other types of maps, you can do that even within Google Earth Pro, My Maps, whatever you want to within it. You can even take it back into Excel and do some things in there. You have a lot of options. So that's where I say spend some time. The visualization part's always big. You want to tell a story with a map. This one gives you a quick glance of terrorism events in the United States post 9/11. And if you had the data address level and you wanted to map it across the United States, a fairly straightforward way to do it. So with that, if there's any questions, let me know about the Google part. Again, the last part I have to kind of just highlight is the census part. And it gives you details of how to download a sample CSV file, and you can download it, open it, and you just want to put your data in the same format of the CSV file. I've had issues when I've tried to do batch geocodes. Personally, I tend to do a lot of the geocoding for data that I need exact address on within Esri, ArcGIS, ArcPro. If I need it only at a neighborhood level, and I say I'm going to just aggregate based on the block group tract, one of those, address specific isn't as important because I still need the offset and everything with that. So lat and long is good. If I want street center line, you want to do something on law of crime concentration at the block level, you need address specific or at least 100 block data for that. If you have a ton of data, play around with the batch geocoder within the census. In the past, I have not had a ton of luck with it, but you might. Your data set, the data you're working with might be a bit different than the ones I've been working with. Also, as most data sets move away from intersections, once those are taken out and you have exact addresses, you have a better chance of just matching it in general. And you could even see when we use the Census Geocoder within the Google Sheets, it does well when you have a full address, and it gives you the good information of the tract and the ID that you can use to merge, even the census and ACS data too. But keep in mind, it's a different process than you doing it by hand, which I'm sure many of you that have a GIS background know the red eye feeling of just going through address by address and double checking to see why it's not geocoding properly. But with that, that's just a quick tutorial on a couple different options within Google Sheets to grab the latitude and longitude of an address, even map it. I'll post links within the YouTube video of what I've pulled up within these tabs here. If there's any questions, comments, concerns, as always, please reach out to me. Thanks.